Now here is the risk that Brown had to take with I love you, Cleveland. And I love you, Ohio. And a very pleasant welcome to this week's version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. Hi, I'm Bruce Drennan along with Ryan Smith. Great to have you aboard. Jimmy Hanlon will be joining us, PGA golf professional who will be recapping the PGA Championship and lots of other items to discuss and cover on today's show. Ryan, how you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty well, Bruce. It's a Wednesday, which means it's bonus time. I'm ready to kick this thing off.
Well, let me start with the baseball. And Guards swept by Cincinnati Reds over the weekend. Former manager Tito Francona. Former Indian Will Benson. I was on the golf course the other day with a buddy after the series, and he said, we traded the wrong Will. Meaning Will Brennan instead of Benson. But in the sweep, and by the way, Brennan, so far, joining the Guardians, is 0 for 9. In the sweep, the Guardians went 2 for 16 with runners in scoring position and stranded 12 runners in the 3-1 loss on Sunday. Unbelievable. Manzardo has 10 homers and 25 RBIs, yes, but he's only hitting 221. Bo Naylor's hitting only 190. Carlos Santana's hitting 222. What saves him is his batting eye. 23 walks. He's got an on-base percentage of 330. Austin Hedges is only hitting 143. Rocchio only hitting 165. Jones, 181. Noel, 150. Wilson, 192. If you can look on the positive side, Jose, 296, 9 homers, 23 RBIs, on-base percentage of 359. Schneemann, 265, 6 homers, 13 RBIs. Arias, 255. And Kwan, 311, the only 300 hitter on our team. So the Guardians are 25-21 and 5.5 games behind front-running Detroit. Now, obviously, as we are recording this week's show, the Guardians are going to try to make up these rainouts with Minnesota, 2 of them today anyway, with the resumption of the suspended game and then the regularly scheduled game in Minnesota, but the forecast is for more rain. It'll be a bullpen game for the suspended game, but then Gavin Williams is scheduled to start in the regularly scheduled game. Detroit, front-running Detroit is on the horizon. Over the weekend, we have a big series with them starting tomorrow. Detroit is 32-17, and that represents the best record in all of baseball. They're 17-5 at home, and that's the best record in the American League. They share the best record in the major leagues at home with the New York Mets of the National League East. Minnesota, if we play these games against the Twins, they've overtaken us because of this amazing streak they've been on that was just snapped. They're a half game ahead of us at 26-21. And Kansas City's got a couple of pitchers banged up right now, but they're 27-23. So the Central Division looking as if, Ryan, it's once again the surprise of the majors. Last year it was considered the weakest going into the 24 campaign. And then here, look at it again. 4 possibilities for playoff teams.
Yeah, go to that Cincinnati Reds series, a clean sweep for the Reds down south. You were out-hit, you were outscored. Will Benson out-homered the Cleveland Guardians in that whole entire series. He had 4 throughout the 3 games. Guardians, I believe, had 3 in those 3 games. That's not going to win you many games, Bruce. And I fear that a lot of the concerns we had in the preseason are coming to light. Outside of Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan, you're not getting a lot of production at the plate. Bryant Rocchio is struggling mightily, and the defensive metrics have gone down for him. If he's not hitting well, then what's he doing well if he's not a defensive gold glove? Guys like Bo Naylor, I was worried that they were going to struggle at the plate, and that's coming to light. And now you've got the Tigers, who are a great team, the Dodgers, who are coming to town.
Yeah.
This is a brutal stretch for the Cleveland Guardians, and if they can get out of it still above 500, think we'll have something to look forward to.
Yeah, it must avoid a sweep in Detroit. That's for sure. 3 out of 4 would be bad, but a sweep would be devastating. By the way, on the good news front, David Fry had a good game for the Akron Rubber Ducks. 1 for 3 as a DH with an RBI. And Lane Thomas is rehabbing at Columbus, and he should be ready for action soon. Ben Lively still on the IL. Seawald on the IL. Shane Bieber should be available sometime in June. He's rehabbing well. By the way, C.J. Kifus, one of our top prospects, third-round pick in 2023. He's hitting .371, which is 5th in the minor leagues. 6th in on-base percentage, and OPS, I should say, and 7th in slugging. He's a first baseman right fielder, but quite frankly, I don't know how they can bring him up with Thomas and Fry on the horizon. But we shall see. Bazana, bad news there, 8 to 10 weeks. He's out with that oblique strain in 27 games, 252, 4 homers, 17 RBIs, 8 stolen bases with 5 doubles and 3 triples. So the development of that kid, Ryan, is delayed a little bit.
Yeah, when you talk about an oblique injury for Bazana, you got to imagine how tough that is for a hitter in your stride. Carlos Baerga, he was talking about how he had an oblique injury. It feels like you can't breathe. You wake up and everything on your side is just absolutely killing you. So that obviously sidetracks Bazana. Don't know if we were going to see him in the majors this year anyway, but this is certainly trending down.
Well, the Browns schedule has been released since we were on the air with you last time. That's next on Bonus Time with Drennan here on Big Play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com today.
I thought in the NFL, the schedule makers are supposed to give the lousy teams, the teams that stink, like the Browns, a break the next year. Now, the teams that are real good should have a very tough schedule. And the Eagles do have a brutal schedule, by the way. But I'm looking at this Browns schedule, and it was released since we were on the air with you, as I mentioned earlier. Can you believe this schedule? Not only do we open up against Cincinnati, who I think, if their defense is improved, is going to be right back in contention to get back to the Super Bowl, because Burrow, in my opinion, is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the entire NFL. At Baltimore, home to Green Bay, a playoff team, Baltimore. At Detroit, home to Minnesota, playoff team. At Pittsburgh, playoff team. My goodness. Then the schedule eases up a little bit. Well, if you can consider Miami easing up. At New England, bye week. We'll have that bye week to prepare for the awesome New York Jets. We better win that game. Then Baltimore, Vegas, at Vegas. That's never easy, no matter how much they stink, too. San Francisco, they figure to be back this year. McCaffrey's going to be healthy. And Tennessee, Chicago, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati to close out the season. It's never easy to do this, but how many wins do you see there, Ryan? My God.
Oh, Bruce, I'd like 5 or 6, and the over/under I believe in Vegas is 4.5.
That's what I was thinking. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to take away from the schedule. Interesting, your book ended with the Bengals. You got them week 1 and then week 18, and you mentioned this is the most brutal start to a Browns season I've ever seen on paper. You mentioned the first 6 weeks, 5 playoff teams. The one that's not is the Bengals week 1, but they very well could have been just on the outside last year with the good Joe Burrow and any improved defense. That's a playoff team right there. Even games week 8, like the Patriots, you're on the road. It's never easy to win in Foxborough. Then in Vegas, we saw what happened last year in Vegas. Interesting to see week 14, you get the Titans. I wonder if that will be a Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders at the time matchup. And then it doesn't get any easier when you end it. Week 16, home against the Bills, home against the Steelers, and then you're on the road for the Bengals. Bruce, this is a gauntlet.
But wait, my original question, aren't you supposed to get a break if you stink the year before? Browns won 3 games last year. You would think that they won, 14.
I think so. Like that's the reason you get the Patriots, I believe, because they finished last in their division. That's the reason you get like the Titans because they finished last in their division. But even those now, Cam Ward, they might have a franchise quarterback. Drake May in his second year in Foxborough with Mike Vrabel, a new regime. This is not going to be easy, Bruce, whatsoever.
Well, the game against Minnesota on October 5th that's the one that's in London. That's a 9:30 start, 9:30 in the morning start here in the Eastern time zone. And every other game is a 1 o'clock game with the exception of the November 16th game against Baltimore in Baltimore. That's a 4:25 start. And the November 23rd game, which is at Las Vegas, that's a 4:05 start. So, but I look at this schedule and I say, my goodness, it's tough enough for the Browns, but and you know what? The divisional rivals are bunched up, too. You start the season with 2 very important divisional games, and you end the season with theoretically 2 very important divisional games. They'll be important for Pittsburgh for sure. And I think Cincinnati's going to be right there again, Ryan. I could be wrong, but it's going to depend on their defense. If their defense is improved and they stay healthy offensively, look out for Cincinnati. People forget they made it to the Super Bowl a few years ago.
Yeah, and then you go look at week 5. You're talking about going overseas to London. That's considered one of your home games. So that's taking away a game from Cleveland Brown Huntington Bank Field now. Bruce, you're going to Ford Field to play the Detroit Lions. Then you're losing your home game. I know you're the home team in London. And then you're coming back to play the Steelers on the road in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And, the way the NFL does it is when AFC plays the NFC, they alternate divisions of playing. So we're playing the NFC North this year, Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago. So that's no picnic either because are the Bears going to be improved? Again, another coach, their revolving door of coaches, and Caleb Williams he's got a year under his belt.
And he's got a new offensive line, Joe Tooney, Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson. That team could be dangerous, Bruce. Just another one on this laundry list of an absolute gauntlet.
Yeah. They didn't do Philly any favors, though. They've got a rough schedule. Did you look at their schedule, Ryan?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Take a look.
Good.
But yeah, good. Okay, when we come back, it'll be time for Jimmy Hanlon, PGA golf professional, hosts so many shows here on Big Play, as we will recap the PGA. That's next. Bonus time with Drennan. I love you, Menor Nissan. Hi, Bruce Drennan here from my good friends at Menor Nissan. Ray Sminchak, the whole staff. As you know, I've been doing a lot of our shows down in Florida, just returned. Great to be back on the home confines of our beautiful studios here at Burke Lakefront Airport for Big Play. But I got to tell you, I drove my Nissan Rogue from Menor Nissan down to Florida, had the rack up on top with extra luggage. It was absolutely the most splendid, beautiful ride. Just as smooth as could be. My wife also drives a Rogue. We rotated driving down there and back, but I just can't recommend it any more so to you. Get on out there, test drive a Rogue or a Murano or any of the other great products that they have out there at Menor Nissan. Don't forget, they're now in partnership with Infinity of Akron and Infinity of Beechwood. Check those great vehicles out as well. Service department is absolutely fantastic. Went back to the dealership to get maintenance after that long drive down there and back. And give them a call. Set up an appointment. Of course, check out their website at menornissan.com. That's menornissan.com. I love you, Menor Nissan. As promised, Jimmy Hanlon, PGA golf professional, joining us. Jimmy, of course, is now featured on Big Play with all of his shows and the creation of other shows too, huh, Jimmy?
Yeah, Bruce, it's been great. The new partnership with Big Play's fun. My programming will air on there, 18 holes at Swing Clinic and Pin Shot and links to the game. And then we're created some new shows. Joe Meglin has a new instructional show called Teed Off. We have a few former LPGA players that's going to do a show called Mom's Golf. I mean, it's growing quickly. You know how I go, Bruce. When I get to a network, I try to turn that network into a golf channel. You've witnessed that in the past. So we'll have a lot of golf on Big Play for sure.
Well, there was a lot of golf played at Quail Hollow this last weekend, and I want to start with you by saying I think this was the most boring major championship that I have seen in so many years. Scheffler won it on the back nine on Saturday. You knew it was inevitable. All he had to do was shoot par and not make any stupid mistakes on Sunday. That's exactly what happened. You got to give him credit, though. Now he's proven he can win another major besides the Masters.
Yeah, Scheffler's a great player. He's solid when he gets out front. It's going to be tough to catch him. You know that. We've witnessed that recently. I agree with you, Bruce. It's 100%. You and I haven't even talked about this, but I thought it was very boring. And part of it was, I believe, how Scotty just we knew he was going to win. And then I think the other part of it was really the venue, right? Like, we see Quail Hollow every single year already. I like, personally, and I'm sure you do too, I like seeing new places, right? I like seeing places that we don't see on a yearly basis on the PGA Tour. And I like them to play more difficult, right? I like even par one over to win a major championship. And with the rain they had at Quail Hollow and the perfect conditions, and obviously these guys know the golf course like the back of their hand. They play it every year. They just, they just shot good scores there, and to me, that's just not how I like to watch major championship golf.
Well, at least it wasn't 13, 14 under par. I really wasn't disappointed. You know how I am with that, Jimmy. I concur wholeheartedly, especially for the U.S. Open. But I thought Quail Hollow, the rain helped because they couldn't cut the rough. But I thought Quail Hollow withstood the test of time as far as a major, because outside of Scheffler, next was 6 under, 5 under, 4 under. So I wasn't disappointed in that. I'll tell you what I think. And let me bounce this off of you, what I think may have contributed to the boredom of it. You had Harris English, outside of DeChambeau, Harris English, Riley, Vegas, Pendrith, Poston, think of the big names that were not there. Rahm was there for a while, but Straka had just won the week before. He didn't make the cut. Shane Lowry did not make the cut. Spieth did not make the cut. Oberg did not make the cut. Matsuyama did not make the cut. Fowler did not make the cut. Jason Day, let alone those live guys, Koepka and Dustin Johnson.
Yeah, you're right on. There were some really big names that didn't make the cut there, which is disappointing. And then, Rory made the cut, but he really was never a factor. And obviously after winning, it's like a horse in the Kentucky Derby. When you win the Masters, everybody wants to see you win the Grand Slam. So he wasn't even a factor, and he's won there 4 or 5 times on that golf course in the past. So everybody thought he was going to play well. Yeah. They're really it wasn't a star-studded leaderboard. It was a lot of people you don't know. And again, you're right. I think that added to the lack of entertainment value for it, for sure.
And Morikawa, too, he made the cut but was not a factor. I thought for a while Rahm would do it, but then Scheffler was just so steady. Do you think this live thing has affected, except for DeChambeau, and I want to talk to you about DeChambeau in a minute, but, Koepka, Dustin Johnson, they have their money. They play 3-day tournaments. There's not nearly the pressure. Your take?
I think that it depends on the individual, but yes, those two people you brought up, I think Dustin Johnson's hanging out on the boat and not working as hard. I mean, it's obvious. He went from being the number 1 player in the world to a guy that doesn't even get mentioned anymore with a chance to win. Brooks Koepka, I thought he was okay. I thought he was hanging in there, but he seems to be going the other direction right now, struggling a little bit. But then on the other side of that, I don't think Jon Rahm's struggles before this tournament had anything to do with live. He's just an up and down kind of guy. His putter struggled. Like, Bruce, if Jon Rahm made a couple 8-footers on the back nine, Scotty Scheffler was going to have to think a little bit on that back nine, but he couldn't make anything on the back nine. And that's been what he's been like for the last 2 years. And again, DeChambeau is another one that seems to, he just competes every week. He puts himself in contention. So I think it is the player, but I think there's certain players that went to live that are just took the money and they're just, not working as hard. And and don't have the pressure, as you said. But I think some of them are able to still compete at the high level, even though they're playing that tour. And DeChambeau really proves that for sure. And Rahm, and even Joaquin Niemann seems to be able to, he was never a number one player in the world type of player, but he's always up there, makes cuts, and he's a good player.
And, Schauffele, the defending champion, was never a factor. He did make the cut. And Victor Hovland, who has been so close so many times, but never seems to be able to finish.
Yeah, he's not a good putter, Bruce. He improved his chipping game. He struggled chipping. He worked hard on it. He just doesn't make enough putts. And, to be an average putter and win on this tour against these guys is very, very rare. I would say that Scottie Scheffler, I might put him in that category. He's a barely above average putter, but he just hits it so good. Besides that, I mean, you got to be able to hold putts under pressure, not under pressure. And, Tiger, Jack, Arnie, they all rolled it. They all putted it good, Bruce. They all made putts when it was the time. And, that's the amazing thing about Scottie Scheffler is I would categorize him as a average or a little bit higher than average putter. And he seems to be able to get it done even without having that skill.
And at least when Scheffler won, we learned that he is capable of smiling. I was really doubtful of that. I'm not a fan. I respect his talent enormously. Again, I give credit where it's due, but my goodness, he doesn't acknowledge. DeChambeau's the most popular player in America right now. I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, Scott, there's nothing to really not like about Scotty, but there's nothing to really get behind and be excited about him, right? It's like, his personality is just a nice guy, right? He does. Sometimes you want your guy to be a little angry, a little controversial, a little, he got arrested and he still was nice. It just, you want him to kind of have that little, Tiger had that just, a little bit of just, I'm going to kick your butt, and Jack had that too. Everybody
Yes.
didn't love Jack, right?
Right.
But with these guys, with Scotty, he doesn't have that that meanness, that I want to kill you attitude in golf. And it's just, so it makes it hard to get behind him, that way. And there's other players like that, but you see most of the successful players in sports, Bruce, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, right? Those types of people, they just had that killer instinct, and Scotty doesn't seem to have that personality, but man, the guy wins. So he's got something going.
Oh, his approach shots are just off the chart. And you're right. Nicklaus, when he was young, was not fan friendly. And Tiger was kind of arrogant when he was young with that killer instinct you talked about. Well, the next one is the U.S. Open. DeChambeau won last year. I think last year he was so motivated because he was anticipating, he went to the practice range because he thought he'd be in a playoff with Schauffele, and Schauffele had to make the putt on the 18th hole to win the PGA, and DeChambeau carried that as motivation into the U.S. Open and really put on a show. But who knows? They're at Oakmont, and oh my, talk about that course.
Oh, it's the hardest golf course I've ever played in my life. There's no question about it. It will be hopefully firm and fast, and that rough will be deep, and they will never putt faster greens than they've putted on at Oakmont. I wish it was in the circuit more often. I think it's one of the most challenging, great golf venues in a great city when it comes to golf. Pittsburgh, you and I have had this discussion since we were on ESPN Cleveland in the late 90s, early 2000s, Bruce. Chicago has phenomenal golf. I think Cleveland and Pittsburgh, when you talk about, golf courses and golf venues, they are right below Chicago's is, one of the best, the best cities in the country or the world. And Pittsburgh will show it because it's really good.
Jimmy Hanlon, PGA golf professional. Check out all of his shows. He's got about 24 of them here on the network. And Jimmy Hanlon, Big Play Network. Love you, pal. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you after the U.S. Open.
Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate it.
All right, when we come back, a potpourri of topics as we continue bonus time with Drennan, Big Play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Smart Choice Windows, energy-efficient products at an affordable price. Visit smartchoicewindows.com today.
All right, thanks to Jimmy Hanlon for joining us. Shift gears now, talk about the NBA playoffs and Oklahoma City off to a tremendous start against Minnesota. My goodness, 114-88. The Thunder went on a 10-0 run in the third period, taking a 6-point lead, 66-60 at that time. They never relinquished it. They outscored Minnesota 32-18 in that third quarter, and the Thunder smothered Minnesota with great defense. Ended the season, it seemed destined to make now fast work of Minnesota. I think they're going to advance to the NBA Finals. Am I wrong, Ryan?
I don't think you're wrong at all, Bruce. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander took over this game. 20 of his points came in the second half. They're pretty damn deep, and it's the Anthony Edwards show. Julius Randle is actually having one of the best stretches of his career throughout this postseason, and I'm really interested to see that killer mentality if Anthony Edwards has it in him. Bruce, we were talking about Anthony Edwards, just how good this kid is. Just in the last calendar year, the faces of the NBA that he's eliminated in the playoffs. You're talking Kevin Durant, latest with Steph Curry, LeBron. Like, that kid is just coming for the old age, if you will, of the NBA, and him and SGA right now are two of the brightest stars this league has to offer.
Meanwhile, this is the first time that the New York Knicks are in the conference finals in 25 years. And the Knicks fans are upset that TNT has the broadcast rights, because that means that former Indiana Pacer Reggie Miller will be doing the commentary. Who do you like in this series, Ryan?
Gosh, Bruce, I go back and forth this one. I think if a series is going to go 7 games, it's this one. I lean the Pacers.
I do too.
I lean the Pacers. I think the pace is a lot. It's going to be, is Tyrese Haliburton going to do what he did? It's one of those things. The Pacers right now are probably the hottest team, especially shooting wise. I think like a 52.8 true shooting percentage, which to the NBA playoffs as that stands, that'll be a record. They caught fire right at the right time. I'll go Pacers in 7.
And the Preakness was run last Saturday, and Journalism, who finished second to Sovereignty in the Kentucky Derby, won. He was the favorite, and so now the Belmont Stakes in a few weeks, Sovereignty will probably be in there, so it'll be between Sovereignty and Journalism. I wanted to touch on this. You know, in the 2028 Summer Olympic Games, which will be staged in Los Angeles, flag football is going to be an event. It's a 5-on-5 format, 10-man rosters. The quarterback, who can only run past the line of scrimmage after first handing off and receiving a lateral or going out for a pass. The center is eligible to go out for a pass. Wide receiver or a back can line up as either. And defensively, you have a rusher who can rush the quarterback from 7 yards off the line. A defensive back and a safety. The playing field is 70 by 25, 40-minute games, 2 20-minute halves, 4 downs to reach midfield, and 4 downs to score a touchdown. No run plays, 5 yards of the end zone, and overtime, each team will get the ball. I think it's going to be extremely high scoring, Ryan.
I'm super excited for it, Bruce. You know, the spring meetings, they just voted to allow the players. I think it's 1 from each team. You can have an international player go represent their team. I think it'll be super fun. I go through my head and think of all the players. I mean, imagine a USA lineup of Lamar, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, amongst others, like just the speed. I don't imagine how this is going to be close. But Bruce, I actually want to ask you this, because there are professional flag football players, and they will claim that it is a different game than the NFL, and it is. Obviously, it has its own intricacies and not, but some of them will claim, and I have no bearing in this, I don't know the answer, I'm wondering your thoughts on it, that they are better suited at flag football, like they would be better than NFL athletes translating to flag football because of the different intricacies in it.
Well, I think this format has speed written all over it. Now, to allow a defensive player to start from 7 yards and have a running start is going to be very fascinating. Who's going to block him? You keep a running back in to block him, because the center's got to center the ball, snap the ball. So the rusher, coming from 7 yards back, can angle so the center can't get to him to block him. And how much contact will there be? So when it comes to answer your question, Ryan, the speed factor, you can't beat these NFL guys. So I would say the NFL, and they'll adapt. They're going to show off their God-given talent. Looks like Daniels, the quarterback from Washington, Gibbs from Detroit is one of the running backs or wide receivers. Jefferson, you mentioned. Jamar Chase is a possibility. Hunter from Jacksonville. Rushers, Parsons from Dallas. Smith from Philly. It's speed. It's all about speed.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know if you saw this too, Bruce, but we just found out, or I just did, thanks to Adam Schefter. They have their NFL spring meetings every year, and they vote on certain rules. They just officially announced that the tush push will not be banned. I believe they needed 2 more votes, so the tush push lives on in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think it's a fun thing. I don't know how you stop it defensively. But but getting back to my question, how much contact do you think there'll be with this?
When I think of flag football, and I played in my days, I don't know if it's any different. I'm sure there's more rules in professional flag football. There's really none. I don't know if you can block.
You've got to be able to. I didn't see that when I did my prep for the show.
I'm not sure.
You're
the rules
saying,
of it.
Do you know if they're allowed to block? Because that guy starting from 7 yards back.
That changes everything, Bruce. You're right. Because you imagine a guy like Lamar or Jaden Daniels, whoever it is, or receivers, how shifty they are. I'm not sure if you can block. I'm not sure if you can run ahead of them, and maybe you can't touch them, but you can kind of move your body a little bit. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see. I'm super excited. I think it's a great idea. And I can't imagine USA walking away with anything else than gold.
How many officials do you think they'll use?
3? I don't know if you need more than that, Bruce.
Now, here's another one. This is Olympics, right? So you're going to have somebody from Hungary officiating. I know the NFL has got some games scheduled in Germany and Brazil and London, but come on, that's going to be controversial, Ryan, I'm telling you.
It definitely will be. I just think it'll be super fun. Like I said, I keep going through the lineups in my head of how I don't know how they're going to decide, but just can you fathom USA not running away with gold?
It
wouldn't be close, right?
It's like when we used to dominate basketball when only the collegians were allowed to play. So it was such an embarrassment when the NBA players lost that 1 year. But when they got in, it was the same thing. So there's no question that 2028. I hope I live long enough to see it. Right now, I'm just trying to get through this baseball season with the Guardians slumping as they are right now. But when we come back, it's time for a little commentary that I've got prepared for you. That's next on Bonus Time with Drennan. Big play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Pure AV, luxury home automation. Experience your dream smart home by visiting pureavcorp.com.
Always great to have you with us here on Bonus Time with Drennan. There's no question, in my opinion, that LeBron James is one of the top 4 players in NBA history. Now, you can make an argument about these 4 players, but I'm talking about Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and James. I'm sure there's some who might want to include Stephen Curry, Kobe Bryant, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaquille O'Neal, Larry Bird. That's fine. But I will argue that you can legitimately make a case for James, Jordan, Jabbar, and Johnson as the greatest of all time. How about coincidentally, their 4 last names start with the letter J? So, with that being said, I've exemplified throughout my career, and I take pride that I've always given credit where it's due. However, LeBron James is scheduled to receive an honorary doctorate degree from Ohio State University, a doctorate degree in public service. Now, this degree is recognizing the LeBron James Family Foundation, which helps children and families. Now, there's no question that the foundation does indeed provide wonderful aid and assistance to needy children and families. No question about that. But most every noteworthy, famous superstar athlete has a similar foundation. I guarantee you that this was not James or any of these other superstars' idea when they were young, budding, about to be stars. Their advisors told them, this is what we need to do, not only for image, but well-doing. And I do want to emphasize well-doing. But let's also tell it like it is, for tax purposes, too. Now, on to Ohio State doing this. What does it say for this prestigious university to award a person who never went to college, and just because God gave him tremendous athletic ability, he should receive a doctorate because his name is on this very worthwhile foundation? What does it say for all of the students who have worked their tails off to just get into college, let alone earn a degree, let alone get a doctorate? And keep in mind, at enormous expense and debt to these students and their families. Shame on you, Ohio State. Oh, yeah, that's right. LeBron wears a Buckeyes jersey on the sidelines during Ohio State football games. I wonder if he pays for the ticket to get in. What do you think? I will conclude by admitting I'm prejudiced. I'm prejudiced against James because of his injecting political beliefs, his political beliefs upon us. Who the heck is he to tell us how to think or yet alone vote? And that goes for all athletes and Hollywood celebrities as well. Ask Bruce is next.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Infinity. Luxury experiences for those who dare to be different. Visit infinityofbeechwood.com today.
Any take on my commentary about LeBron getting a doctorate?
Bruce, that was news to me. I hadn't heard that story anywhere. I did a little research in the breaks, and I guess he has an honorary locker as well at the Ohio State Stadium. Obviously, Big Connections donates a lot. Yeah, I never like mixing athletes with politics. I mean, I don't listen to anybody. I don't care about their status. I don't care to tell them what they think, or I agree with you what to vote. Interesting, though, you did mention it was a doctorate, right?
Yes.
That is kind of crazy. It was news to me. I guess good for LeBron. Does he deserve it? I don't know. I'll let the people answer that.
You think I'm going to call him doctor? You're crazy.
Dr. J. That's already reserved for Julius Erving.
Ask Bruce segment, fire.
Alrighty. Hey, Bruce, do you foresee Corey Kluber being the heir apparent to Carl Willis as Guardians pitching coach whenever Carl decides to hang it up?
Great question, and I love it. If there was ever a surgeon on the Hill, it was Kluber. And I remember when I was with the network and we had the setup when the Indians were home, and I'd be right above the Indians bullpen doing the show before the pregame started. And before I'd hit the air or during breaks, Kluber would be going through his bullpen session down below me, and he'd be pointing to the catcher right where he's going to put it right there, low and inside, low and outside, high and in. Pinpoint, surgical precision. And Bieber's like that too when he's healthy. So, yeah, great question. I'd love to see it when Carl decides to hang it up. But I don't want to rush Carl. He's the best.
Alrighty. Hey, Bruce, how will the Guardians handle the musical chair of outfielders when Lane and Fry are ready?
Yeah, obviously Noel and Nolan Jones have got to go. The experiment, I loved it. You know, the Guardians, formerly the Indians, used to do this all the time, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. It seems like this time it's not working, and something's got to give. I went through those batting averages in our first segment, And you just can't win unless you have able to score runs and get hits. And especially, a couple of years ago, we were a great 2-out hitting team. Now, look at that last game against Cincinnati with all those stranded runners and runners in scoring position, as I like to say, ducks on the pond, and we couldn't get them in.
Alrighty, hey Bruce, the Guards will likely need at least 2 starting pitchers not on the 26-man roster currently to pitch big innings late in the season. One will, of course, or should be Shane Bieber. Do you think the other will be a prospect or somebody external?
I think that depends on how they bring these kids up and see what they've got. And it could be external. Because come deadline, we know that Antonetti and Chernoff, when you're in contention, will not hesitate in bolstering the starting rotation, the bullpen, or try to get a bat. Won't be a big name, but it'll be a guy who's proven and reliable on the veteran side of his career. So, yeah, it could go either way there, but the big news is getting Bieber back in there. I think he stabilizes the entire rotation, and he'll rub off on the other starters because of his influence and, by example, following his example.
Alrighty, hey Bruce, what are your thoughts on Daniel Schneemann? Do you think this is a Linsanity run, or do you think he's the real deal?
I like the way he plays the game. He's old-fashioned, and he plays the game hard the way you fundamentally should. How can you not like him? So he's really earned this spot with the Guardians in the major leagues. He's a major leaguer, but I do welcome when Thomas is able to come back and Fry, too, because think how instrumental Fry was last year in our playoff run, the divisional run, and coming down the stretch, all those clutch hits he had, and Thomas excelled in the postseason.
Hey, Bruce, what do you make of Travis Bazzana's injury setback? And do you think this makes Juan Brito's stock in the organization trend up?
Yeah, you'd have to. I don't know what Brito's doing in the minors. I haven't looked, Ryan. Do you know off the top of your head?
I do not know, Bruce.
Yeah, I haven't looked at his stats in the minors. I know early on he was struggling, but I haven't looked in a while, so I really can't fairly answer that question about if he's really tearing it up or not. I'll have to look, but certainly this is a setback for Bazzana because of his tremendous potential, and it's important, even though you are a tremendously talented young prospect, you still have to go through that developmental process in the minors before you're ready for the big show. So, yeah, 8 to 10 weeks. Let's hope this is not a nagging thing with him, too. He's very young.
Alrighty, last one for you. Hey, Bruce. We already talked about your overall thoughts at the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, of course, but this listener wants to know, what would be your score prediction for yourself at Quail Hollow?
Well, I don't think if I broke 100, I'd be happy with very happy. Let's put it that way, but I doubt it. But from those tees anyway, forget it. Just forget it. Hey, give me a break. I'm 75 now. I can't shoot 75, let alone twice that much at a course like that from the tips, that's for sure. That's all the time we have for this version of Bonus Time. What a question that was. Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. I'm Bruce Drennan on behalf of Ryan Smith. We thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week. Until then, as always, and most importantly, you remember, I love you, Ohio, and I love you, Cleveland. Thank you.